In the beginning, there was the void, and endless, boundless emptiness and absence, but there was also a spark, a chance encounter that would prove that the cube is greater than the sum of its parts. Matter only existed on a subcubical level. Over time, these floating cubes coalesced, forming into the Mighty Way, a vast, loose organization of blocks spiraling across the cosmos. In the first generation, stars and nebula were formed, a sort of cosmic egg. They contained all the raw materials needed for the development of life. Several of these celestial eggs hatched in the form of ubernova, distributing matter with rail-like speed to the distant corners of the galaxy. Now we shift our focus to a slightly smaller section of the cubiverse. Bits of material that were sent out gradually lost velocity and collapsed together, floating and bonding in a process known as accretion, each according to its kind and gravitational attraction. Time passed. The science of geology was invented, that is, the science of pressure and time. Deep in the center of the cube is a core filled with molten iron and other metals. Celestial bodies and comets that were late to the formation of our cube fell to the surface and buried themselves there. This and the iron catastrophe is responsible for the magnetic field that directs our compasses, drives out solar wind, and maintains our atmosphere. $4.5 billion years ago, the future home of our species, our planet, enters a furious adolescence. The face of our planet erupts, and a magma ocean covers nearly the whole of the cube. Through a process of cooling, reheating, and the multiple impacts of ice-laden asteroids, oceans of water eventually took their place. DNA, the building blocks, if you will, of life as we know it. Developed here in primordial soup, or perhaps marooned here by some passing interstellar traveler unable to escape the Earth's gravity, prokaryotic cells took shape and multiplied at a fantastic rate by a process called meiosis. Nature now existed at a cellular level. These families of bacteria, amoeba, and viruses traveled across the cube, eventually reforming themselves into the first multicellular organisms. These creatures fed, grew, and presumably mutated into all the various forms of life on our cube. But the creatures with solid exoskeletons are what formed the very beginning of our fossil record. Through a process of natural selection and common descent, plant life begins to flourish and blossom, seeding the atmosphere with oxygen. Fish grew fins that became stronger with each generation. We believe these fins may have extended themselves into crude legs capable of supporting weight. The transition from water to land did not occur overnight. Our amphibious tetrapods spent more and more time on the land, developing a growing confidence and an eventual appreciation for breathing air instead of water. With each new generation, bits of unfinished code would mingle together, creating new and unexpected traits in the offspring. One line of children did away with webbed feet and became chickens, while another line kept them and became ducks. The Cambrian explosion is responsible for the wide variety of life at that time, but we're still uncertain as to what caused this blast of fertility. The animal and plant life came into an unstable balance. More and more young were brought into the world. These would develop into today's 28 known mobs, with more being coded every day. But reptilian creatures soon established dominance, a dominance that would ultimately prove short-lived. For deep beneath the surface of the cube, primal tectonic forces strained against each other, tearing the continents apart, leaving geologic wonders like the Farlands in their wake. Continental drift reshaped the surface of the cube, tearing apart the supercontinent and slowly distributing them to all edges of the cube over the course of millions, if not billions of years. Dirt and rock were melted into magma by a process called mantle convection and redeposited elsewhere by volcanic eruption. Meanwhile, the lizards and other creatures of the Earth fought amongst themselves in petty struggles for dominance. But these struggles would soon be shown to be without consequence. The exact cause is unknown, but we believe it likely that a runaway chunk from galaxies unknown crashed down to the cube, leading to the rapid extinction of the dinosaurs. This would also explain the radical evolution of the first creepers, and their quick ascendance in becoming the cube's dominant species. Time traveled on, and the cube started to look much as it does today. The moon travels in regular orbit, and the stars shine down quietly on the surface of the cube. Trees grow in calm splendor across the valley. Sheep and cattle roam free, grazing as required. Pigs root for food in the forest and may have been the first creatures to walk upright in two-legged posture. Modern anthropology speculates that the porky fossil fragment may be the final link needed in confirmation of this theory. Regardless of his origin, man has expanded his domain to every corner of the cube. In this tribal, multiplayer mentality, humanity developed culture and grouped itself into ever larger villages. They built huts with tools and maintained their own food supply with agriculture. They hid themselves away in strongholds to fend off wild bandits and griefers. They built networks of redstone to send power to even the darkest corners of the cube. And after sufficient mastery of construction had been attained, their strongholds then towered up into the sky, forming the first true urban biome. And after all of this, we started building on a miniature scale, eventually resulting in Miniac, the first functional computer. And in 1979, His Holiness Marcus Pierson was born. He would go on to establish Mojang Studio and release Minecraft to the public at large. The skies call to us. If we do not destroy ourselves, we will, one day, venture to the stars. Or perhaps, if fortune smiles favorably, the stars will venture to us.
Ciao ragazzi, sono Bluefire, voi siete nella Bluefire TV e sono appena entrato in un hide and seek di Minecraft. Questa